I realized my flight wasn't going to end where I intended when I saw the police escort a passenger off the plane without a face. And his seat wasn't even empty. It was just filled with black void, as if he had never existed. And this all happened on an American Airlines flight that, as I was later told, none of the living board willingly. I've always been afraid of flying. Not panic-stricken, just every takeoff gave me the feeling that the sky didn't like me. But work is work. An important meeting in Los Angeles, deadlines were burning, and I needed tickets today. When I opened the airline's website, I was nearly paralyzed. Everything was sold out. The whole week. Except for one flight. Just one. It was late, strange, with no description, no photo of the plane. Just a number. AA3330. The reviews were empty. The discussions were silent. It was as if this flight didn't exist. But I had no choice. I clicked buy. Check-in. At the airport, I immediately noticed something. There were dozens of flights on the huge boards, and only opposite mine was there a slight digital noise, as if the text was blurring. And when I approached the check-in counters, I almost felt sick. My flight wasn't listed there. Instead, there was an empty corner, without tourists, without staff. An old desk, an old counter, an old lamp, flickering as if in some abandoned terminal. And a man was standing there. No uniform, no badge, no smile. His eyes were absolutely motionless, like a mannequin's. He didn't even blink. Flight AA3330? He asked, as if he already knew the answer. Yes, Documents. He didn't check the ticket. He didn't look at the passport. He just touched them, and the lamp above us flickered harder. You are checked in, he said, and handed me the boarding pass. The paper felt strange, as if it were damp and slightly warm. Proceed immediately to the gate. No waiting. But it was only 5 p.m. Boarding hadn't even opened yet. They're already waiting, he added, without emotion. Boarding. Gate AA3330 was at the end of a long corridor that I had never noticed before. The light there was dim, the walls yellowed, and there wasn't a single person. The plane stood at the gate and looked old. Very. The American Airlines logo was as if scrubbed off, leaving only faint red stripes. And everything around it was silent. A flight attendant met me inside the plane. Good evening, sir. Take any seat you wish. Her smile was strained, and her eyes too large. And she didn't look away until I sat down. There were only 5 other passengers. They all sat perfectly straight, hands on their knees, faces blank. Immediately after I stepped into the cabin, the doors closed. No announcement, no command. When the plane took off, I noticed that the windows seemed to generate static, like old televisions filled with gray noise. The flight attendant walked down the aisle and stopped next to me. Would you like dinner? She handed me a tray. The smell hit me instantly, something sour, rotten. The chicken was covered in black spots. The potatoes were gray. The drink was a thick, inky mass. What is this? I asked. It's what you ordered, she replied, without blinking. I pushed the tray away, but she didn't leave. "You need to eat. It's important." The word important sounded like a command. And at that moment, one of the passengers, a man across the aisle, slowly began to melt from his seat, as if his muscles refused to hold his body. He slumped onto the floor, and the flight attendant calmly walked past without even glancing at him. The fall. At some point, the lights in the cabin went out, and I heard voices. Not human voices, as if someone was talking through a thick wall of water. I tried to get up, but the seatbelt tightened itself, pressing me into the chair. The screen on the seatback in front of me turned on, by itself. My face appeared on it. But not my face today, my dead face. As if I had already died, and this was the documentation. When the lights came back on, the flight attendant announced, "Welcome to Los Angeles." But outside the window, there was no city. There was no light. There was nothing familiar. It was a reflection of Los Angeles. An inverted copy. The streets were empty. The sky was black. And in the distance, screams could be heard. When the doors opened, people walked out silently. But their shadows, they didn't move like them. The shadows seemed to live separately. I tried to get back onto the plane, but the flight attendant blocked the way. "This way," she said. "You've come to work, haven't you?" "Work?" "Of course. Everyone who comes here becomes part of the crew." And then I saw them. People. Tied up, hanging, screaming. And some transformed into the very flight attendants and pilots who lure new passengers. Those who bought a ticket for a flight that shouldn't exist. "Your return flight will be in a year," she said, "if you survive." When she smiled, her mouth stretched too wide. Too wide. And then I understood. I didn't fly here. I was brought here. On a flight for those whom no one is waiting for anymore. And there is no way back.